Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let's just give everyone a few more minutes to dial in, and we'll start soon. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all, and welcome to the Securities Commission Malaysia's Capital Market Green Financing Series on alternative financing for MSMEs in the halal economy. My name is Nadira, and on behalf of the SC, I would like to thank you for joining us today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Capital Markets Malaysia, CMM, the Halal Development Corporation, HDC, and the Halal Integrated Platform, HIP, for their support in organizing today's webinar session. Before we get started, I would like to remind you on a few housekeeping rules. Today's webinar is scheduled for 2 hours. There will be Q&A sessions after the presentations as well as a panel session. So do submit your questions through the Q&A function in your Zoom platforms. And lastly, this webinar will also be recorded for safekeeping purposes. Now, moving on to the program agenda for today. Today's webinar will kickstart with the welcome remarks by Puan Sharifatul Hanizah Said Ali, the Executive Director of the Islamic Capital Market Development of the SC, followed by the opening remarks by the CEO of HDC, Mr. Hairul Arifin Sahari. Next, there will be presentations on the Sharia-compliant equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer financing and Sharia screening for unlisted MSMEs by Ms. Ernie Jasmina Ibrahim and Mr. Rizwan Zaidi Rizwan from TSC. There will also be a panel discussion on the market-based funding options for halal businesses, which will be moderated by Ms. Rushilda Ismail from HIP, which will be featuring speakers from the alternative capital market space and the halal industry. Micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises contribute significantly to Malaysia's economic growth. The capital market plays an essential role to accelerate the development of a holistic halal economy that is both ethical and sustainable through sustainable and responsible investments and the Islamic capital market. However, access to financing remains a continued challenge for MSMEs, and alternative capital market financing avenues such as ECF and P2P present a great opportunity to address these financing gaps. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Puan Shariah-compliant-𝗙𝗜𝗔𝗟𝗓 the Executive Director of the Islamic Capital Market Development of the SC, to deliver the welcome remarks for today's Navigate Capital Market Green Financing Series.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Encik Hairul Arifin Sahari, Chief Executive Officer, Halal Development Corporation Berhad. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. It is a pleasure to welcome all of you to the third edition of the Navigate Capital Market Green Financing Series. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues at the Securities Commission Malaysia and Capital Markets Malaysia, as well as our strategic partner, the Halal Development Corporation Berhad, or HDC, for their support in bringing the many stakeholders together for conversations in creating greater awareness and connectivity between the halal industry players and Malaysian capital market. I'm pleased to be able to deliver the welcome remarks this morning, given the SC's continued emphasis in fostering capital market inclusivity and in facilitating the advancement of the Malaysian halal economy. This is also in line with the SC's Capital Market Master Plan 3, whereby one area of focus is the Sharia-compliant funding needs of micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. It is apt that the theme for today is alternative financing for MSMEs in the halal economy, since there is tremendous unrealized potential for MSMEs to seek alternative market-based funding, which are mainly through the equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer financing platforms, better recognized as ECF and P2P. MSMEs make up a substantial part of the growth engine of the Malaysian economy, contributing more than a third of our national gross domestic product. It is imperative, therefore, to intensify efforts to enable and facilitate underserved MSMEs that are seeking available and suitable financing options. Today, these MSMEs continue to rely on traditional sources of funding, originating from the banking sector. Yet there remains an estimated 90 billion ringgit financing gap for MSMEs alone, indicating the limited access to funding for smaller scale businesses. Micro firms constitute 78.6% of the 1.2 million MSMEs in Malaysia. 48% of SMEs in Malaysia were unserved or underserved, whilst 52% are financed by banks. Overall, 83.8% are from the services sector. For the halal economy, the Islamic capital market, or ICM, is a natural fit for alternative funding avenues due to the integration of Sharia principles governing both Islamic spaces. This integration supports the potential of a holistic halal economy, supported by end-to-end Sharia compliance throughout its value chain. I'm also pleased to note that Malaysia has been ranked first amongst 81 countries and regions in the Global Islamic Economy Indicator for the 9th straight year, according to the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2022, positioning Malaysia as the leading country in the Islamic economy space. The lead ranking is attributed to its thriving market for Islamic finance, with other high key indicator scores that encompass a wide breadth of sectors, ranging from halal food, Muslim-friendly travel, modest fashion, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics, to media and recreation, indicating the great potential for further development of the country's halal segment in supporting the nation's economic growth. To foster the development of the halal economy, which is populated mainly by the MSMEs, appropriate and effective measures are paramount to support a comprehensive end-to-end Sharia-compliant ecosystem for the businesses involved. This includes halal from a products and services perspective and Sharia compliance from a business transaction perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, the ICM contributes more than 65% of the country's overall capital market and plays an important role in financing the Malaysian economy. Acknowledging the importance of MSMEs to the Malaysian economy, the SC has facilitated the development of market-based crowdfunding platforms through the introduction of ECF and P2P financing frameworks. Access to these alternative funding avenues for MSMEs remains at the forefront of the SC's growth initiatives. The frameworks allow businesses and entrepreneurs, particularly in the MSME segment with innovative business ideas, to raise funds through the capital market. Since the introduction of ECF and P2P financing platforms in 2015 and 2016, respectively, a total of 2.7 billion ringgit has been raised for more than 4,000 MSMEs. Sharia-compliant offerings and Islamic notes on these platforms have also gained traction and continued to provide MSMEs with alternative viable options. The amount raised grew multifold from 1.5 million ringgit in 2020 to more than 200 million ringgit in 2021, benefiting 136 MSMEs. Furthermore, in 2021, the number of platform operators with options to offer Sharia-compliant financing has increased to 6, compared to 4 in 2020. We expect this rising trend to continue, with the increasing interest from operators to offer Islamic finance services and issuers seeking Islamic alternative fundraising. With a well-developed ecosystem, Malaysian MSMEs seeking Sharia-compliant fundraising are expected to benefit from these avenues to support their expansion agenda. According to the 12th Malaysia Plan, the country's halal industry is expected to contribute 8.1% to the GDP and generate 56 billion ringgit export revenue in 2025, compared to 6.6% and 30.5 billion ringgit in 2020. It further emphasizes the importance of elevating the halal industry in Malaysia, as the country aspires to become a global halal hub and prime destination for halal investments. To support this aspiration and facilitate fundraising avenues within the halal sector, I urge the relevant stakeholders to continue to collaborate and develop an ecosystem conducive to businesses in the halal economy and focusing on Sharia-compliant funding mechanisms. These can be achieved through ongoing efforts to promote an inclusive ICM, covering a broader span of diversified Sharia-compliant investments and creating awareness of alternative Islamic fundraising activities. Consequently, there will be greater access to wide spectrum of the Islamic investment universe, including the unlisted markets, which will provide more avenues for both retail and sophisticated investors to participate in public and private markets. I also wish to share, for those who don't already know, that the SC in 2021 introduced the Sharia Screening Assessment Toolkit for the unlisted micro, small, and medium enterprises. The toolkit provides guidance in screening the Sharia status of the MSMEs in the unlisted market. It is intended to benefit the ECF and P2P financing platform operators, Sharia advisors, and all relevant actors in the ecosystem. The toolkit includes a series of assessment questions that are based on the Sharia screening methodology for the MSMEs, which has been endorsed by the Sharia Advisory Council of SC. The future for the growth of MSMEs utilizing alternative fundraising avenues remains bright. By the end of this Navigate edition, I hope that you will be more informed on the alternative fundraising options available in the ICM to accelerate the halal economy's development. I will be looking forward to its progress, as the Navigate program will be a teaser for future programs that we plan to organize. The SC and HDC will also be synergizing closely to deliver such events by leveraging the Halal Integrated Platform, which was established by HDC for their members for the purpose of providing a data pool of halal products and services, as well as seamless access to the global halal players. We will keep the industry stakeholders informed on its developments in due course. With that, I wish everyone a good and productive conference ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan Shariah-compliant for the welcome remarks. We certainly hope that this initiative by the SC could connect more ethical and sustainable companies within the halal sector with the different financing avenues available in the capital market. This in turn would also accelerate the development of the sustainability agenda for Malaysia. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. 𝗙𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗡, CEO of HDC, to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, Yang Berusaha Puan Shariah-compliant, Executive Director, Islamic Capital Market Development of the Securities Commission Malaysia, organizing committees, distinguished speakers, delegates, and guests. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Salam keluarga Malaysia and a very good morning. First and foremost, allow me to give my thanks to the Securities Commission SC for extending an invite to be part of this webinar, which I'm certain will be enlightening, informative, and motivating for numerous micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSME. This webinar could not have come at a better time as it echoes Malaysia's path towards economic recovery post-pandemic. Jointly organized by SC, HDC, Capital Markets Malaysia, and Halal Integrated Platform. This program themed alternative financing for MSMEs in halal economy aims to enable MSMEs to obtain valuable information and a deeper understanding of alternative capital market financing from government agencies, banks, and alternative financing avenues such as equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer financing available in the market today. The global halal business is flourishing, thus creating an abundance of opportunity despite the onset of COVID-19. Prospects of the already vast halal economy are massive, and it stands to continue expanding. Largely driven by ever-rising Muslim population, global consumption of halal goods and services is expected to grow at 3.5% annually to reach USD 2.4 trillion by 2024, according to the dinar standard in its State of Global Islamic Economy 2020-2021. Among the main drivers are the rising demand from young and affluent Muslims across the globe, as well as the rising trend of ethical consumerism that impacts consumption, which is relevant in addressing growing concerns of sustainability and climate change in halal production. In Malaysia, we have an advantageous market size and a demography of Muslim majority on top of a diverse demography. I believe our beloved country has all the right elements to develop our halal economy into a force to be reckoned with. Our nation's halal business infrastructure is comprehensive, and encompassed within it is a mature domestic Islamic financial system that stands ready to respond to the evolving and growing needs of businesses, as well as resilient players and Islamic capital market as economic partners. Also, JAKIM's Halal certification program is internationally recognized and well sought after. This is evidenced by Malaysia reigning the Thomson Reuters Global Islamic Economy Indicator Index for 5 consecutive years. Ladies and gentlemen, PEW Research Center's report valued the global halal food and beverage market at USD 1.37 trillion in 2014, which represented 18% of the entire market. And the number of Muslims worldwide is expected to increase from 1.6 billion in 2010 to 2.8 billion in 2050. The report added that Muslims are expected to make up more than 31% of the world's population by 2060. In Europe, the halal market is growing at an estimated annual rate of between 10 to 20%, driven by a demand and general desire for Sharia compliance among a growing Muslim population. These figures demonstrate excellent prospects for Malaysia given our position in the global halal economy. Malaysia emerged as the #1 nation for 9 consecutive years that supports the multi-trillion-dollar global Islamic economy in addressing the growing Islamic economy opportunity, according to the DINA standard in its State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2022. Based on his DC, Halal Industry Master Plan 2030, our domestic halal market is valued at approximately 300 billion ringgit, contributing to 7% of the country's GDP. And this figure is projected to grow further to 400 billion ringgit to account for 11% of GDP by 2030. And meanwhile, a Bank Negara Malaysia's internal survey found that there is an increasing prominence of Islamic financial institutions in supporting the halal sector in recent years. According to BNM, the number of applications from Malaysian halal certified companies which use Islamic finance reached 10,800 in 2020, amounting to 63,000 billion ringgit. Ladies and gentlemen, the global halal economy has grown in leaps and bounds over the years, with pertinent areas of growth such as the halal food industry, Islamic finance and banking, pharmaceuticals, tourism, as well as education. There is a great need to accelerate its development in a timely manner in order to take full advantage of the lucrative market thanks to the promising prospects made possible by the large global Muslim population from Southeast Asia, South Asia to the Middle East and North Africa. Big Muslim economies do not lack capital. However, it remains that the halal industry, especially MSMEs, faces challenges due to the lack of funding. The market is fragmented, and investments in companies that cater for this population isn't enough, as investors will opt to deposit their capital elsewhere, despite the large size of the Muslim market. According to PwC, MSMEs rely on internal or personal funds to launch and run their businesses. They are less capable of attracting bank loans at an early stage of the entrepreneurial life cycle compared to larger firms, even though MSMEs possess strong leverage for the halal value chain greater than material benefits, including ethics, morality, and spirituality, with economic independence as the ultimate goal. Reliable and better access to capital via alternative funding platforms such as equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer financing framework are needed for listed and unlisted SMEs, which are the lifeblood of Islamic communities, to help them propel and expand their business. Diversity of instruments from ethical banking, microfinance, social finance, and fintech, including asset-backed financing and risk sharing, among others, are also what the MSMEs require. With that in mind, it is important to note that Islamic financial institutions have come a long way and have matured into institutions which now offer a wide range of financial solutions to meet the varied needs of customers, including MSMEs. Therefore, MSMEs should seize the opportunities provided to embrace digitalization and sustainability in the post-pandemic economy. Meanwhile, allow me to reiterate that HDC is committed to provide solutions for both existing and potential halal players to excel in halal market spaces. We are constantly working to onboard industry players onto the halal economy to increase Malaysia's halal exports and direct investment into halal industrial parks. We look forward to making more inroads to build a strong and interconnected halal ecosystem regionally, globally, and improve on competencies. With great cooperation, together we can develop Malaysia's integrated and comprehensive halal ecosystem and infrastructure to position our nation as the most competitive countries leading the global halal industry. Before I end my speech, I would like to once again thank the Securities Commission for extending an invite to be part of this forum. I hope all who participated today would obtain helpful takeaways to broaden their knowledge and understanding in regards to alternative financing for MSMEs in the halal economy, as well as contribute ideas that we all may reap from in the future. It's my wish that information shared during this event will be able to nudge more listed and unlisted MSMEs to come forward and obtain the necessary financing that's needed to support expansion of their respective businesses. I believe this would be a further drive the halal economy of Malaysia, which will benefit our nation's economy as a whole. I sincerely hope that everyone present here will experience engaging, helpful, and fruitful conversations. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Hairul. Before we begin today's presentation, I would like to invite you to answer the first polling question. Can we have it flashed out on the screen, please? So the question is, have you heard about ECF and P2P financing before? Or anda pernah dengar apa itu pembiayaan perbadanan ramai berasaskan equity dan pembiayaan antara rakan setara sebelum ini? Please select the appropriate response and click submit. Let's give some time for the audience to vote. Those of you who have not yet responded, go ahead and submit your responses now and we'll close the poll shortly. So we have closed the poll and let me share the results with everyone. It looks like 57% of you said yes, you've heard about ECF and P2P financing before. So we surely hope that the participants today will gain a better understanding of the ECF and P2P market after today's session. Before we move on to the next session, a gentle reminder to the audience, if you have any questions to the presenters, please submit your questions through the Q&A function in your Zoom platforms. I would now like to invite Ms. Ernie Jasmina Ibrahim from the SC's Digital Department to share her presentation on Sharia-compliant ECF and P2P financing, followed by the presentation on Sharia screening for unlisted MSMEs by Mr. Rizam-Zaidi Rizwan from the Islamic Capital Market Development of the SC.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi to everyone, distinguished speakers and guests. Thank you Puan Nadira for the introduction. Okay, untuk sesi hari ini, saya dan Encik Rizam akan berkongsi maklumat lanjut mengenai pembiayaan alternatif iaitu ECF dan P2P financing. Terdapat dua bahagian di dalam presentation hari ini. Jadi part 1 will cover more of some details on the background of the digital agenda of the Malaysian capital market. Kemudian kita akan lihat a little bit on the overview of the ECF and P2P financing framework dan bagaimana SC regulate ECF and P2P financing activities, dan juga kita akan go through the bagaimana cara untuk mendapatkan dana melalui ECF dan P2P. Dan untuk part kedua, bahagian kedua, Encik Rizam akan meneruskan sesi ini dengan berkongsi dari aspek pasaran modal Islam. Sekiranya mempunyai soalan atau apa-apa question, seperti yang Nadira mentioned just now, just post it in the Q&A. Okay, secara ringkas ya, SC telah merangka digital agenda bagi membangunkan pasaran modal Malaysia. Dan agenda ini mempunyai 4 objektif seperti yang kita dapat lihat di skrin. Objektif pertama iaitu untuk meningkatkan akses kepada pembiayaan. Objektif kedua untuk menambah penyertaan pelabur. Dan objektif ketiga untuk membangunkan pasaran institusi. Dan yang keempat bagi membangunkan ekosistem bersinergi. Jadi penekanan diberikan kepada objektif pertama iaitu meningkatkan akses kepada pembiayaan. Seperti yang kita semua maklum, kebanyakan PKS mempunyai menghadapi masalah bagi mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui melalui institusi yang sedia ada seperti bank dan lain-lain. Jadi kita juga maklum yang antara faktor utama menyebabkan antara faktor utama termasuklah sebab tidak mempunyai rekod kewangan atau tidak konsisten atau tidak lengkap atau tidak mempunyai credit scoring yang melayakkan PKS itu membuat pinjaman atau tidak mempunyai aset untuk aset yang cukup untuk sebagai cagaran. Jadi tanpa dana ini it's hard, sangat sukar untuk PKS itu untuk meneruskan perniagaan ataupun untuk mempunyai peluang untuk membangunkan lagi perniagaan mereka, right? Jadi bagi menangani isu ini, SC sebenarnya telah memperkenalkan saluran alternatif bagi PKS mendapatkan dana, which is di bawah rangka kerja pembiayaan berasaskan pasaran, which is market based financing. SC telah memperkenalkan ECF framework, Equity Crowdfunding Framework pada tahun 2015, diikuti dengan framework P2P financing yang diperkenalkan pada tahun 2016. Jadi ini memberi peluang kepada PKS, terutamanya startup ataupun syarikat yang masih baru untuk mendapatkan modal bagi membantu mereka menjalankan perniagaan. Jadi di mana sebelum ini mereka lebih kepada meminjam dari friends and family, just like macam yang Encik Hairul cakap sebentar tadi, lebih kepada melalui rakan ataupun keluarga. Okay. Jadi let's look at apakah itu ECF dan apakah itu P2P. So kedua-duanya equity crowdfunding dan P2P financing ini adalah online platform, online platform bagi PKS mendapatkan pembiayaan ataupun dana dari sekumpulan pelabur. Maksudnya secara ringkas ada 3 pihak yang terlibat di dalam proses pembiayaan ECF dan P2P ini. So iaitu PKS sendiri, platform operator dan juga pelabur. Dan platform operator ini bertindak sebagai penghubung di antara PKS dan juga pelabur. Ya. Jadi apa itu ECF? Bagi ECF, PKS yang menggunakan ECF mendapat dana dengan cara menerbitkan share ataupun equity syarikatnya. Maksudnya pelabur-pelabur yang melabur di dalam PKS yang menggunakan equity crowdfunding ini, mereka akan menjadi salah seorang pemegang share dalam syarikat PKS itu. So, jadi biasanya PKS yang menggunakan ECF ni adalah PKS yang di peringkat startup ataupun growth companies, peringkat awal ya, bagi mendapatkan dana kerana mereka masih belum mempunyai produk di pasaran ataupun masih dalam peringkat untuk membangunkan produk itu. Dari segi pelabur ECF pula, pelabur yang melabur dalam ECF ni adalah pelabur yang biasanya mempunyai minat terhadap produk yang dipasarkan oleh PKS itu sendiri. Mungkin disebabkan inovasi produk itu, mungkin disebabkan ada potential for the product to grow further, right? Contohnya macam produk-produk kosmetik ataupun sistem digital atau artificial intelligence ataupun ada juga yang melalui like agriculture sector seperti pengusaha tanaman, buah-buahan dan lain-lain. Jadi pelabur ECF mereka harus faham yang ECF adalah pelaburan jangka panjang. Maksudnya tak macam unit trust ataupun saham, mereka tidak boleh mengeluarkan duit yang dilabur itu kan in a short term basis lah. Okay. Dan apa pula P2P ya? Perbezaan di antara kedua-duanya. P2P konsepnya sama macam loan ataupun pinjaman dari bank. Maksudnya sekiranya PKS memilih untuk menggunakan P2P financing, apa yang mereka expect is mereka dijangka untuk membayar semula pelaburan yang mereka terima dari pelabur P2P. Dan selain itu, selain pada membayar pelaburan itu, berserta juga dengan keuntungan. So ini mengikut rate of financing yang ditetapkan lah. Okay. Contohnya sekiranya PKS membuat pinjaman sebanyak 100,000. Jadi pada kadar 8%. Jadi and then ada tempoh sepanjang untuk 3 bulan. Jadi PKS is expected to actually membuat pembayaran semula setiap bulan ataupun pada penghujung tempoh itu pada semua pelabur-pelabur dia. So kadar pembiayaan bagi P2P finance ini berbeza-beza. Maksudnya mengikut platform lah, dan ia bergantung kepada apakah keperluan pembiayaan bagi PKS itu. Contohnya, what is the need of to get the financing. Contohnya adakah ia untuk pembiayaan makro, adakah ianya untuk pembiayaan invoice, ya. Dan juga ia juga bergantung kepada keupayaan PKS itu untuk membayar semula pelaburan itu kepada pelabur. So ini adalah antara faktor-faktor yang akan dinilai semasa PKS itu memohon untuk mendapatkan P2P financing. Dan proses untuk mendapat pembiayaan melalui P2P juga sebenarnya lebih pendek ya kalau kita nak bandingkan dari pinjaman dari institusi lain. Maksudnya jika PKS memerlukan dana dengan cepat, contohnya untuk to support their working capital, dan dia boleh, PKS boleh menggunakan P2P bagi mendapatkan dana itu. Dan P2P financing ini bukan saja untuk PKS yang sukar mendapatkan pinjaman, tapi juga ia digunakan oleh kebanyakan PKS yang memang sedia ada, already have financing from other institution, disebabkan disebabkan proses yang lebih mudah untuk mendapatkan dana daripada P2P financing. Seterusnya, kita lihat kepada bagaimana SC mengawal selia ketiga-tiga parties in the ECF and P2P. Okay. Dari segi platform operator, semua platform operator sama ada ECF ataupun platform operator P2P financing mestilah berdaftar dengan SC sebagai recognized market operator. Mereka juga terikat kepada peraturan yang disenaraikan di dalam guidelines on recognized market. Jadi sekiranya mereka tidak mengikut peraturan ini, maksudnya SC berhak mengambil tindakan ke atas platform operator ini. Okay, dari segi PKS, siapa yang layak memohon ECF? Jadi syarikat-syarikat sendian berhad, syarikat-syarikat unlisted berhad, dan juga syarikat LLP, Limited Liability Partnership atau perkongsian liability terhad ya, boleh memohon untuk mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui ECF. Berapa banyak PKS boleh mendapat pembiayaan melalui ECF? Ada limit atau tidak? Okay. Setakat ini limit ataupun limit untuk pembiayaan adalah sebanyak 20 juta. Maksudnya PKS boleh mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui ECF ni sehingga 20 juta ringgit. Dan ECF, pembiayaan ECF ini menggunakan approach all or nothing. Apakah maksud all or nothing? Maksudnya sekiranya PKS menggunakan ECF untuk mendapatkan dana to fundraise, mereka PKS mesti memastikan the fundraising target tu reach the one that you have set before. Maksudnya kalau PKS target untuk mendapat dana sebanyak 1 juta 1 million. Jadi the campaign untuk mendapatkan 1 juta tu mesti mencapai 1 juta. Kalau tidak mencapai 1 juta, duit yang telah terkumpul daripada hosting of the campaign itu akan dipulangkan semula kepada pelabur. Kemudian boleh atau tidak PKS untuk mendapatkan dan memohon pembiayaan dari beberapa ECF platform. Tidak boleh, maksudnya PKS hanya boleh memohon pembiayaan dari satu platform pada satu-satu masa, ya. Dan PKS harus disclose all the information yang true and accurate to the platform operator. Okay. Dari segi investor atau dari segi pelabur, terdapat beberapa limit yang SC telah set untuk pelabur ECF yang melabur di dalam ECF. Contohnya bagi pelabur retail ataupun pelabur runcit, limitnya adalah sebanyak RM5,000 dan tidak boleh melebihi RM50,000 dalam tempoh 12 bulan. Dan bagi pelabur angel atau pelabur mangkin, limitnya adalah sebanyak RM500,000. Dan dari segi dan tiada limit dikenakan bagi pelabur sophisticated, ya. Dari segi P2P financing pula, seperti yang sedia maklum, ya, P2P financing framework ini diperkenalkan bagi membantu businesses PKS mendapatkan dana. Jadi tiada sebarang pinjaman peribadi dibenarkan di bawah P2P financing. No personal loan. Kemudian apakah jenis syarikat atau PKS yang boleh memohon P2P financing? Ia adalah syarikat yang dibenarkan adalah syarikat Sdn Bhd ataupun yang berdaftar dengan mana-mana majlis perniagaan, termasuk majlis perniagaan lah. Jadi dan mereka ini termasuklah not necessarily Sdn Bhd, termasuklah perniagaan sole proprietorship, which is perniagaan tunggal, partnership, which is perkongsian, LLP, which is limited liability terhad, ya. Dan juga SC juga membenarkan mana-mana jenis entiti perniagaan yang diluluskan oleh SC. Maksudnya selagi the reason untuk mendapat pembiayaan adalah untuk membantu perniagaan, mereka boleh memohon through P2P financing. Apakah kadar pembiayaan PKS harus pertimbangkan sekiranya menggunakan P2P financing? Kadar yang cost of financing atau kadar rate of financing ni adalah berbeza-beza mengikut platform. Jadi tapi the maximum is 18%. Seperti ECF tadi ada limit in terms of total pembiayaan, tapi untuk P2P tiada limit, ya. Maksudnya boleh mendapat pembiayaan sebanyak mana yang mampu selagi asalkan kempen itu ada pelabur yang ingin melabur. And then kalau tadi ECF menggunakan approach all or nothing, right? Tapi kalau P2P financing, PKS yang mendapatkan dana melalui P2P financing ni at least must reach the target amount raised atau target pembiayaan sebanyak at least 80%. Jadi kalau kurang dari 80%, jumlah pembiayaan yang telah dikumpul dari pelabur-pelabur itu akan dipulangkan balik pada pelabur. Sama macam ECF tadi, SC tidak membenarkan untuk concurrent hosting dalam pada beberapa multiple P2P financing lah, maksudnya tidak dibenarkan. Dan juga information haruslah di-disclose to the P2P operator itu mestilah the accurate lah and true. Dari segi pelabur kan, tiada limit untuk P2P financing bagi pelabur yang berminat untuk melabur di dalam P2P financing, tiada limit. Jadi bagaimana cara untuk memohon pembiayaan ECF atau P2P? So what I have on the screen is secara ringkas, this is the process for PKS untuk memohon pembiayaan melalui ECF atau P2P lah, ya. Yang pertama, application to platform. So setelah SME tu, setelah PKS itu mendaftar melalui platform-platform operator, sama ada platform ECF ataupun platform P2P tadi, platform operator akan menjalankan screening proses lah. Maksudnya mereka akan melihat dari segi background check of the PKS, apakah objektif pembiayaan PKS itu, dan ada beberapa kriteria lain yang mereka akan pastikan lah. Jadi the purpose ataupun kenapa the screening process happen, so that the platform operator dapat memastikan yang kempen tu adalah kempen yang bukan scam ataupun tidak salah di sisi undang-undang, ya. Jadi setelah application proses itu berjaya, setelah screening proses also selesai, dan kemudian kempen itu akan dilancarkanlah di platform operator punya website ataupun platform, which is langkah kedua. Maksudnya proses untuk mendapat pembiayaan itu dah bermula, is raising the fund, second step lah. Jadi semasa proses raising the fund, the funding window akan dibuka kepada pelabur untuk melabur. Jadi semasa proses ini, pelabur akan dapat melihat semua information lah. Contohnya, apakah project idea of the PKS, apakah funding goal of the PKS, and then apakah funding deadline, and apakah return and rewards yang pelabur akan dapat. Selepas tamat tempoh raising the fund, maksudnya there's a period of fundraising itu, setelah tamat, which is langkah ketiga, there'll be like dua approach di mana seperti yang saya bincangkan tadi, maksudnya sekiranya bagi ECF, sekiranya pembiayaan itu yang terkumpul itu mencapai target, which is mencapai 100% of the target PKS itu, contohnya sekiranya 1 juta, mencapai 1 juta, dan amount 1 juta itu akan diserahkan kepada PKS. Tapi sekiranya tidak cukup bagi ECF, ya, tidak cukup, semua amount itu akan dipulangkan semula. Dan bagi P2P, sekiranya melebihi 80%, maksudnya amount itu boleh diserahkan kepada PKS, dan sekiranya tidak, ia akan dipulangkan balik kepada pelabur lah. Okey, langkah keempat selepas tamat kempen pembiayaan, maksudnya kempen selepas itu bagi P2P, pelabur-pelabur P2P, mereka akan they will expect to get back their repayment. Maksudnya mereka akan dibayar semula lah. So sekiranya on a bulanan, mereka dapat setiap bulan pembayaran balik berserta keuntungan. Tapi bagi pelabur-pelabur ECF, mereka akan terus tiada pembayaran bulanan, jadi mereka akan terus mendapat updates dari PKS yang mereka membuat pelaburan itulah, sehingga mungkin PKS itu move to another stage atau peringkat, contohnya peringkat IPO, di mana mereka akan issue semula ataupun menawarkan semula share untuk membeli semula share dengan harga yang lebih tinggi. Okay, so itu secara ringkas proses bagi bagaimana PKS ingin mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui ECF ataupun melalui P2P. Okay, secara ringkas, just to update everyone on the ECF and P2P market size, ya. Setakat ini ECF dan P2P telah membantu lebih 4,000 PKS untuk mendapatkan sebanyak lebih kurang 2.7 bilion dana melalui kempen 30,000 lebih kempen. ECF P2P juga telah memberi peluang kepada investor sebanyak lebih 44,000 investor untuk melabur. It's a new investment asset class for the investor. Dan 88% daripada pelabur-pelabur di dalam ECF P2P adalah kebanyakan retail, pelabur runcit, dan 60% daripada pelabur-pelabur adalah pelabur-pelabur muda, which is less than 35 years old. Yeah. So Okey, setakat ini SC telah mendaftar sebanyak 10 ECF operators dan sebanyak 11 P2P financing operators. Dan Atis adalah salah satu ECF operators yang menawarkan Sharia financing, dan bagi P2P financing terdapat 6 P2P operator yang menawarkan Sharia financing ataupun telah mendapat approval dari SC untuk menawarkan Sharia financing, which is funding societies, Capital Bay, microLEAP, MoneySafe, Cashfear dan juga Nusa Capital. Okay. Seterusnya Cik Rizam akan meneruskan presentation ini. Rizam.
Terima kasih Imi. Distinguished guests, speakers, panelists, participants, Assalamualaikum and very good morning. I will continue. Kali ini telah memberikan penjelasan berkenaan ECF dan also P2P financing dan proses bagaimana PKS ataupun MSMEs boleh mengumpul dana melalui ECF dan juga P2P. Saya ingin memberikan sedikit penjelasan ataupun penerangan berkenaan pengumpulan dana patuh syariah melalui pasaran modal Islam. Di Malaysia, pasaran modal Islam memainkan peranan yang penting bagi pengumpulan dana patuh syariah. Apakah pasaran modal Islam ini? Secara ringkasnya, pasaran modal Islam merujuk kepada pasaran di mana urus niaga, operasi dan aktiviti pasaran modal dijalankan mengikut prinsip dan patuh syariah. Dan ianya unsur utama ianya bebas dari unsur-unsur riba, gharar, which is uncertainty, ketidakpastian, gambling, judi, dan juga ianya mesti bebas dari segi pengeluaran dan penjualan barang dan perkhidmatan yang dilarang dalam Islam lah. So ECF dan P2P financing patuh syariah adalah antara produk pasaran modal Islam di mana MSMEs boleh mengumpulkan dana yang patuh syariah untuk keperluan perniagaan masing-masing. Sedikit statistik yang saya nak sebutkan di sini. Semenjak diperkenalkan saluran pengumpulan dana ECF dan P2P terus menunjukkan pertumbuhan yang menggalakkan dengan pembiayaan patuh syariah ECF dan P2P meningkat dengan ketara kepada 225.9 milion ringgit pada tahun 2021 daripada 1.5 milion ringgit pada tahun 2020. Kalau saya boleh pergi kepada next slide ya ini, terima kasih. Pada tahun lepas, SC telah memperkenalkan Sharia Screening Assessment Toolkit. Ini can you go to the previous slide? Okay, thank you ini. Pada tahun lepas, SC telah memperkenalkan Sharia Screening Assessment Toolkit for Unlisted MSME sebagai sebahagian daripada usaha berterusan SC untuk meningkatkan ekosistem pengumpulan dana patuh syariah melalui ECF dan juga P2P. Toolkit tersebut bertujuan untuk memberikan panduan dalam menyaring status syariah MSME. MSME boleh buat self-assessment kepada syarikat masing-masing untuk menentukan status syariah dalam perniagaan masing-masing mengikut toolkit ataupun panduan yang kita telah keluarkan tahun lepas. Toolkit ini juga kita harapkan dapat menggalakkan MSMEs yang terlibat dengan halal produk untuk juga menjadikan perniagaan patuh syariah dari segi pembiayaan. Seperti yang Puan Irni mention atau sebutkan tadi, kita ada pengandali pasaran yang berdaftar dengan SC yang boleh facilitate ataupun offer Shariah-compliant ECF ataupun P2P financing. Di mana anda boleh dapatkan Shariah Screening Assessment Toolkit ini? Anda boleh pergi ataupun boleh muat turun melalui laman website SC. Sebelum saya mengakhiri presentation ni, saya ingin berkongsi video klip pendek semasa kita melancarkan toolkit tersebut ataupun toolkit yang saya mention baru sekejap tadi pada tahun lepas. Ini kan play that short video clip, please. Thank you. Sorry, I think there's a bit of technical glitch. There's no audio. I'm not sure from my side. There's no audio. Ini kan.
Hi, Ernie. Can you check if the audio is on from your end? Sorry. Maybe you can play the video again.
Ini.
Yeah, Riza.
There's no audio when we play the audio, the video. Can you try to share again with the audio? If you can, please do that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can switch on share audio and then play the video. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only way.
Share audio.
You stop sharing screen. Bila you share balik, just click the share audio function.
We apologize for the slight hiccup. You just give us a few minutes to sort this out. Thank you, everyone.
The Malaysian capital market plays an important role in financing
Yeah,
the nation's economy and growth. The Islamic capital market garners more than 60% of the total capital market. Micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, contribute more than 1/3 to the local gross domestic product. Recognizing this potential, the SC has facilitated the development of equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer financing frameworks, which have seen progressive growth. In 2020, ECF fundraising grew by 457% to almost 128 million ringgit. and has so far benefited 150 MSMEs, while P2P financing registered a 20% growth of 503 million ringgit in the same year, benefiting 2,801 MSMEs. To further enhance the ecosystem for Sharia-compliant fundraising activities, the SC is introducing the Sharia Screening Assessment Toolkit for unlisted MSMEs. It aims to provide guidance in screening the Sharia status of MSMEs, broadening Sharia-compliant offerings, and promotes end-to-end Sharia-compliant businesses. The toolkit includes a series of assessment questions based on the Sharia screening methodology for MSMEs, as endorsed by the SC's Sharia Advisory Council. This toolkit will benefit various stakeholders, and this initiative is part of the SC's efforts to promote the development of MSMEs in the halal economy through the Islamic capital market.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Ine and Rizam, for such an insightful presentation. Now we've come to the first Q&A session. So let us see the questions that we have so far. Perhaps I can just highlight a few questions together so that the speakers can take that on first. So the first one is, adakah saya layak memohon P2P financing sekiranya saya tidak mempunyai rekod kewangan yang konsisten? Second question is, kalau kurang dari 1 tahun, bolehkah saya mendapat dana dari ECF dan P2P? Dan thirdly, apakah default rate dekat P2P sekarang? Maybe you can answer these questions first before we move on to the next set of questions. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Nadira. Untuk soalan pertama, for the first question, adakah saya layak memohon P2P financing sekiranya saya tidak mempunyai rekod kewangan yang konsisten? Yes, seperti yang kita bincangkan tadi, P2P platform mereka akan menilai keupayaan membayar PKS. Kalau tiada mempunyai rekod kewangan, mereka akan melihat kepada data alternatif lain, seperti maybe transaction of your business, transaksi perniagaan, ataupun maybe your penyata bank. So there's a alternative way of looking into the transaction of the to look at the record for the financial. Untuk soalan kedua, sekiranya kurang dari 1 tahun, bolehkah saya mendapat dana dari ECF dan P2P? Ya, maksudnya PKS yang startup ataupun growth company yang or we call it younger company, boleh approach, boleh menghubungi platform operator, because ECF P2P menggunakan cara assessment bespoke way of assessing. Maksudnya dia akan melihat dari segi, bukan saja dari segi macam kriteria 1, 2, 3, 4, tapi ada alternatif cara lain yang mereka akan lihat bagi membantu PKS startup ataupun growth company untuk mendapat dana. Ada yang terakhir.
I think it's on the default rate, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, untuk default rate, setakat ini the default rate bagi industri adalah setakat Disember 2021 adalah sebanyak lebih kurang dalam 3% lebih, which is kita telah berjaya to reduce the number the rate itself, because semasa pandemic dulu the rate actually increase a bit, dan kemudian dengan melalui the restructure process by our P2P platform operator, di mana mereka really monitor the financing and everything, kita berjaya menurunkan the rate to around 3%. Okay.
Right, thank you, Ini. Perhaps I can ask a few more questions before we move on to the next agenda. Okay, the first question is, adakah proses pembiayaan ECF dan P2P mestilah melalui platform operator yang berdaftar dengan SC sahaja? That's the first one. And then secondly, what's the cost of doing the screening for the unlisted MSMEs? And lastly, can you share benefits of performing the self-assessment for unlisted MSMEs? Perhaps Irni or Rizham can take these questions. Thank you.
Rizham?
Ini, you want to go first with the first question? I will take the last two.
Sorry, Nadira, boleh ulang semula? Can you repeat the first one?
Yeah, so the first question is, adakah proses pembiayaan ECF dan P2P mesti melalui platform operator yang berdaftar dengan SC sahaja?
Ya, bagi PKS yang ingin memohon pembiayaan melalui ECF P2P, memang harus, you must actually approach the platform operator yang berdaftar dengan SC. Maksudnya dan senarai-senarai platform daftar tu boleh juga diperolehi, or you can also get from SC website. So yeah. Okay, Rizam.
Yeah, for the second question, disebabkan panduan ataupun toolkit yang kita lancarkan pada tahun lepas tu sebagai panduan, ianya boleh di-download ataupun muat turun daripada SC website secara percuma lah, sebagai panduan for MSMEs untuk menyaring atau melihat status syariah company masing-masing. Yang soalan ketiga, benefit yang saya rasa yang boleh diperolehi oleh MSME kalau dapat menentukan ataupun tahu apakah kriteria yang kita tengok ataupun metodologi yang kita pakai untuk menyaring status syariah company ataupun perniagaan. Because at one point sekarang MSMEs perniagaan yang kecil and hopefully bila perniagaan itu akan menjadi besar, so kemungkinan besar MSME tersebut akan pergi kepada IPO. So bila ke listed companies, so MSMEs tersebut ataupun syarikat sudah biasa mengenai kriteria yang kita pakai, macam mana kita pakai untuk menyaring Sharia-compliant status of companies.
Right. Thank you, Irni. Thank you, Rizam.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation and for taking up those questions from the audience. Let's move on to the next agenda. But before that, let us have a look at the second poll question for today. Yeah, if we can have it on screen, please, for everyone to answer. And the question is, do you know how to raise funds via ECF and P2P financing? Atau adakah anda tahu bagaimana cara untuk mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui ECF dan P2P financing? Again, please select the appropriate response and click submit. So let's give some time for the audience to vote. Okay, so we're now closing the poll, and let me share the results with everyone here. So for those of you who answered in English, do you know how to raise funds via ECF and P2P financing? 52% answered yes, and 48% answered no. While for those who answered in Bahasa, adakah anda tahu bagaimana cara untuk mendapatkan pembiayaan? Again, 52% answered yes, and 48% answered no. All right. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Next, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the lineup of speakers joining us for the panel session, who will be giving us more insights on their experiences on the market-based funding options for halal economy. We are very fortunate to have here with us today Ms. Rushilda Ismail from HIP, who will be moderating this session, Mr. Matthew Noel Fernandez, partner and COO of microLEAP, and last but not least, Mr. Nadir Shafiq, co-founder and the executive director of the LORI. A gentle reminder to the audience, do submit your questions through the Q&A function in your Zoom platforms. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Ms. Rushilda to the floor, who will be our moderator for this session. Now, over to you, Ms. Rushilda.
Thank you so much, Nadira. Hello and Assalamualaikum. I'm 𝗔𝗟𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗔𝗧𝗜𝗓𝗡 from Halal Development Corporation. I'm representing Halal Integrated Platform. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Puan Shariah-compliant 𝗙𝗜𝗡𝗙 Executive Director, Islamic Capital Market Development of Securities Commission Malaysia. Distinguished speakers, delegates and guests. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, on behalf of Halal Integrated Platform Unit and also Halal Development Corporation, we are very honored and delighted to be here to share and be part of this event. Dan izinkan saya berbahasa Melayu. Baiklah, penggerak utama bagi ekonomi halal pastilah perusahaan mikro, kecil dan sederhana, iaitu micro SME. Dan mereka juga merupakan tulang belakang ekonomi Malaysia. Pertumbuhan dan juga kejayaan micro SMEs ini dalam ekonomi halal memainkan peranan yang kritikal ketika ini. Jadi, ini adalah relevan bagi Halal Integrated Platform, di mana platform digital ini yang menempatkan keahlian yang kami panggil sebagai halalpreneurs dari mikro sehinggalah MNC. Jadi, rangka kerja peer-to-peer ataupun peer-to-peer financing ini oleh Suruhanjaya Security ini telah menyediakan perniagaan dan juga usahawan khususnya micro SME ini saluran penjanaan dana tambahan melalui pasaran modal. Jadi kami sangat-sangat berbangga dengan itu. Jika anda mempunyai sebarang pertanyaan di sesi ini bersama kami di Halal Development Corporation, bolehlah mengajukan melalui komen Q&A di kotak itu, ataupun mungkin anda merasai ingin lebih dekat untuk bercakap, bolehlah tekan ikon raise your hand dan buka mic anda dan berikan nama syarikat dan diri anda dan berikan senario syarikat anda. Baiklah, tanpa membuang masa, iaitu kita akan bersama dengan Matthew Fernandez, partner dan COO untuk microLEAP. Silakan Matthew.
Hai, selamat pagi semua. Good morning everyone.
Pagi.
Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Semua orang boleh tengok?
Yep.
Okay, so first things first, just to give a bit of an introduction on microLEAP before I go into my presentation, just like to share a short video and also our website, microLEAPasia.com. My name is Matthew, I'm the partner and CEO of microLEAP. Our website is dalam dua bahasa, English and Bahasa Malaysia, and tutorial videos are here. And most important thing, of course, I think I mentioned also earlier on the business funding calculator, you can get everything you can see is here. But most importantly, let's play this short video clip.
Hi, I'm Toolkit, founder of microLEAP. What is microLEAP? microLEAP is a Sharia-compliant peer-to-peer financing platform. For only 50 ringgit, you can get high returns, invest in Sharia-compliant investment notes, make an impact on local businesses, and yes, we are regulated by the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Are the investment notes good? No. Alhamdulillah, they're super great. Each investment note earns a return of between 12 to 18% per annum, and we provide personal accident insurance to our issuers for free.
Platform kami juga ada dalam bahasa Malaysia.
Malaysia boleh. And do you like getting low boring yields? I'm no Datuk Lee Chong Wei, but we make smashing returns. I'm not good at that material. Stop using paper that you don't need, because everything is done online. Matt and I are going to get you started on your investments wherever you are. We're not just a Sharia-compliant P2P financing platform, we also provide impact to the community. Free basic debt management training.
Settle.
All Sharia-related costs absorbed by microLEAP.
Settle.
Free personal accident insurance.
Settle.
So stop wasting your time on the latest iPhone and start deciding where you're going to stack all those ringgit bills that I'll be making for you. We are microLEAP, a proudly Malaysian fintech platform regulated by the Securities Commission of Malaysia.
Oh, hold on. Let me also share. Okay. Let me get to my presentation, sorry. Okay. Okay. So let me begin on my presentation for today. Thank you to Securities Commission, Capital Markets, HDC, HIP. HEDC and HIP are also our partners as well. And that's on the platform when you go to the HIP Global website. And also just check in, hold on. Okay, so what is microLEAP? I think I've already mentioned earlier. microLEAP is the first Sharia-compliant conventional P2P atau platform rakan-rakan setara in Malaysia, and we're regulated by Securities Commission of Malaysia. So just a big overview. Basically, microLEAP is, and all the P2P operators are basically a matching platform between the lenders, which are the P2P investors, and the issuers, which are the borrowers, which are the MSMEs or PMKs. So basically on microLEAP is on microfinancings, 1,000 ke 50,000, 1,050,000, as well as microLEAP Plus is up to 500,000. And actually one of our main issuers, long-term issuers are with us today, and he'll be from the Lorry Online, logistics online tech platform. They will be also be sharing later. Also, as mentioned from IRNI, personal financing is strictly prohibited. So those that want to get financing for their wedding or the latest iPhone, please can't come to any of the P2P operators such as ourselves. So also just to touch on the elephant in the room, there is a 90 billion MSME funding gap according to the Capital Market Master Plan SC 2021. And this is due mainly to the lack of access. The bank's credit criteria is way too stringent. And unfortunately, because of the branch model, the outreach to rural areas is very difficult. And the cost, the revenue versus revenue per loan, the small loans are too expensive for banks and institutions like themselves. They like to target larger, more profitable loans. That is just the way it is at the moment. But where we come in is basically where we look to plug the gap. microLEAP platform is fully online. We focus on technology, application, KYC, eKYC, payments, drawdown, semua is online. It's all done online. We increase financial inclusion by giving access as well as providing basic debt management accounting training for free, the financial inclusion bit of also mitigation for which I will touch on later on the key personal accident insurance. We also have less budget constraints, so we can reach and scale up quickly. We have funded MSMEs dalam satu Malaysia, the whole country, including East and West Malaysia. And of course, the most important bit is the adoption of smartphone penetration and internet penetration statistics. In 2018, smartphone penetration was 78% and internet penetration was at 87.4. Of course, now this is according to MCMC, and of course now it's much higher. You know, it's already and of course I would also the other elephant in the room is the pandemic that has completely made this our current reality. I mean, maybe at one point it wasn't. Not everyone was so used to being online, but now everyone is. So real people, real impact. This is something, a big overview of what we're all about. Basically, the P2P investors on the left-hand side, the typical P2P investor is someone like Ali and Lee. Ali is looking for Sharia-compliant and high returns, and we have 3 or 4 options already. Most of them are live, and some are waiting to take off. And Lee basically is looking for ethical and impact investments, because as even my partner and CEO, Toolkit has mentioned several times, ethical and Islamic principles go hand in hand. And of course, the issuer on the right-hand side is Makcik Kia. She is someone that I used to cycle to her shop in JB, this pisang goreng seller in Taman near Kampung Melayu. Is basically they were a 30-year-old business or more than 30 years old. And they never met the bank's 3-year requirements. So even though they've been in business for 30 years, the SSM baru 2 tahun, just 2.5 years at the time when they applied with us. So as mentioned, and I think it was also brought up in the Q&As, for us, our minimum is 6 months requirement. So bawah 1 tahun pun boleh. Simple online application. We also provide free personal accident insurance on the key person. So let's just say kalau dia food truck driver broke his arm, or broke his leg, even though death is covered, but let's just say accident like that stopped them from driving their food truck, then the entire principal is covered by a micro insurance partner, and they will pay back to the trustees. Trustees will pay back to all our investors. That's how the P2P and ECF system works. It's all via trustees. And we also give basic debt management and online training for free. This is in English and DM, so that's also another big advantage. So dari dulu dia pakai, now they're actually comfortable in using Excel. This is the first, the impact that she had was the first ever financing. She got the financing within 2 weeks. Of course, this was also the caveat, or disclaimers in is the fact that she was very, very up to date with everything, and was a lot of back and forth. Was easy to get a hold of her. The issue sometimes is our issuers don't pick up the phone. It's very difficult. So it's not always 2 weeks. It's the 2 weeks in the fact that from start to finish, there was a lot of, the process was very smooth and smooth sailing. But the good thing is the increased sales after the store renovation, and also she boosted her online presence, because the thing we like most about this particular issuer was, even though the bank rejected her, we knew that from her Food Panda, Grab sales, apa semua is so high. That is why we looked at it and said, yeah, she can afford it. And I'm happy to say that she's already fully repaid all her investors. microLEAP, in a nutshell, as I mentioned tadi, microLEAP is from 1,050,000. microLEAP Plus is up to 500,000. I'll get into our different products later. But basically, we are with a minimum of 50 ringgit. You can invest in these MSMEs, PMKS, need financing. And yes, the rates may be slightly higher, but that's when you know you will get your financing faster. So I'll also touch on that shortly. Everything is held in account mana, all in trust accounts. All issuers must have a guarantor. That is also in our tutorial videos, you will see that as well. It will be covered there. Issuers are covered by the key person PA insurance, as mentioned just now. All this, the premiums are covered by microLEAP. So that's an extra mitigation for investors, and also senang hati for the issuers. They don't need to pay extra. We will be covering that from our one-off fees. As mentioned also by Irni, we do use psychometric testing for the thin files. For those that may not have that much credit data to go on, we have psychometric testing for the micro side of things. Of course, for SMEs, no real issues, but for the MSMEs, yes, we have psychometric testing to help us with our credit risk assessment. But yes, all issuers must pass the online video account training, the basic debt management accounting training. Only when they pass, then only they receive their finances. And as mentioned, we're regulated by SC Malaysia. Differentiation, I think this is where it's good to point out where we are at. I already mentioned on a couple of them, but basically we also have the Grameen model of group lending, where 5 womanpreneurs or micro entrepreneurs can actually come together and raise financing. This is also an option available for us with microLEAP. That's also one of our main differentiation points. microLEAP Islamic, I think this is something very important. This is how we also grew. And I'll also touch on that slightly in a bit. We use commodity murabaha and based on tawarruk arrangement. No additional fees, summa, all brokerage fee, all the Sharia fees, wakala fees, etc. The yearly fees, summa and monthly fees are all absorbed by microLEAP. So there's no difference in cost. Kalau mengumpulkan dana via conventional, secara conventional, or secara Islamic, Sharia-compliant, there is no difference in cost because we've absorbed all that cost. So that is another huge value add for our microLEAP P2P investors as well as P2P issuers looking to raise financing. Anyone can invest. It's only 50 ringgit. And also you will see from our platform the word I, and there's a Q&A. So macam Kiva, we are very, transparent. We've given all the information as well as fact sheets that you can download. And yes, we also practice garama, which is late penalties are all given to charity. Now, these are the current options that we have on our platform. Microfinancing, the rates are anywhere between, on average, 10 to 15%, give and take. Lowest is 9, depending on the risk. Tenor 6 to 36 months. Issuers, micro enterprises, underserved. Type payment types monthly, and we do need a guarantor. Invoice financing, this is quite exciting for those that need that bridge financing for that short period of time and we will make sure that since we have a secondary current account, that we will be in control with the MSME, 50,000, 500,000, profit rate between 1 to 1.5% a month, tenor is only 6 months, up to 6 months. This is mainly for the SME segment. And yes, the invoice and the guarantor is the security for this. And I think this was also asked in some of the Q&As. Car dealer financing is coming. We're looking to launch our Islamic car dealer financing where the car is the collateral. It's anywhere between 50 to 300, profit rate of 12% or 1% per month, tenors 4 months. These are all gross profit rates, by the way. Issuers, some Siram Barat SME segment, and these are all through partnerships, actually, to be more specific. And yeah, we're looking to launch this anytime soon, within H2 of this year, hopefully. Grant financing, 20 to 300,000, similar to invoice financing. The grant akan act as the security, as another form of security as well. Tenor is more or less the same, and you may choose balloon or bullet. And balloon and bullet actually is all within the Q&As of our investment notes. If you go to microLEAP.com and look at our funding list, click on the investment note, it explains a bit more on what this is all about. Financing landscape, as mentioned earlier, I think this is something worth pointing out. Basically, we are fully online, as mentioned from Irni also. Business financing and working capital only, no personal financing is allowed. If everything and all the back and forth with our MSME is on point and on time, in a timely manner, it can be as fast as 2 weeks to a month to get your fully funded, or at least 80% as per SC requirements as a bare minimum. But usually so far we've done fully funded. Interest rate anywhere between 10 to 18 as mentioned. This is from including microLEAP and microLEAP Plus. And of course, if you head towards the other financing landscapes in Malaysia, microfinance institutions, MFIs, money lenders, etc., you must be within the specific zone, must be within the branch model as mentioned earlier. And rates are also plus minus the same, and even the timing to get funds, obviously that's the main difference. It's usually longer. This is just a traction. We're over 24 million Sharia-compliant funds dispersed, 166 companies that we've funded so far, and our compound annual growth rate has been pretty solid. And I think that's been fully Islamic this whole time. More or less with Islamic this whole time, but yes, we also have conventional. Businesses funded, as mentioned, 166. Currently, our default rate is still at 0. As also mentioned by Ini, we do restructuring and deferred payment plans, and we try to help jaga hati the investor as well as jaga hati the issuer as much as we can. Total financing dispersed also, yes, we've already passed and closing in on the 25 million mark, which is pretty good considering our growth rate's pretty solid so far. Yes, since the industry is at 3%, that is where our target has always been between 0 to 3 ourselves. These are some of our key partnerships. We have MAA, our corporate investor that does up to 10 million rolling fund for 30% for each node. SME Corp as well, a very key important partner, as well as people, as mentioned earlier, HIP and HDC as well. These are also our long-term partners. MTDC, also another long-term partner that we've had. That not only did the COVID relief fund with us, but also has a rolling 2 million and increasing to 10 for the Islamic investment notes, up to 30% for their tech-related Pitch Monday session. BPMB as well. Finally, we're getting good partnerships with fellow regulated entities like from Bank Negara. So this is something very exciting for us. They're currently they're also breaking up between funding the agri-tech farming initiatives with us, as well as also doing co-funding on our platform to help the Islamic Sharia-compliant MSMEs. And of course, the government, not forgetting MySafe, Micro Investment Fund. The Ministry of Finance has always been supportive of all ECF and PT. They invest in a ratio of 1:4, which is 20%, as well as 1:2, which is 33% for the agri-tech sector. This is for this 2022 calendar year, as announced recently in the budget. Recognition, just overall, we've been awarded by the Cradle Coach and Grow program as the industry recognition award for fintech, as well as the top 3 startup of the year among the entire CGP5 cohort. We were also top 18 for United Nations Capital Development Financial Innovation B40 Challenge. as well as the top 11 for Alpha 1337 Ventures Alpha FinTech. And yep, on BFM as well. And we won the Unicorn Pitches Online and represented Malaysia in the APEC finals for Startup Network. And yeah, also between also my partner Tunku Danny, he's been involved in a lot of several things and also been thought of as an Islamic FinTech thought leader from HTC events, as well as also being part of iConnect. MicroLEAP is a founding member of this industry-led body to promote Malaysia as a global FinTech hub, and our regulators are there, MDEC, FAUM, etc. So these are very important. FinTech Association of Malaysia, that's FAUM. I was being a committee member last year as well, and up to this year, and this is something that we're quite proud of as well. And that's our team. Before just to give a bit overview of who we are, and of course I'll be passing this to our key issuer, Nade from the Lorry, to explain his experience a bit more, and he's also got regular investment notes with MicroLEAP moving forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Matthew. Saya difahamkan Matthew. Okey, terima kasih Matthew. Saya difahamkan soalan-soalan yang akan diberikan oleh mereka yang participate untuk webinar hari ini adalah hanya ruang komen Q&A saja. Tidak mengapa. Baiklah, sebelum kita bersama-sama dengan Nadir, pastikan anda semua bersedia dengan soalan-soalan dan boleh letakkan di komen dan saya akan ambil soalan-soalan itu dan akan diberikan kepada panelis-panelis kami. Baiklah, seterusnya bersama dengan Nadir Ash-Shafiq, Co-Founder and Executive Director The Lorry yang telah mengguna pakai pembiayaan P2P bersama dengan MicroLEAP. Mungkin Nadir boleh ceritakan pengalaman anda dan juga your entrepreneurial journey. Silakan Nadir.
Baik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished guests as well as distinguished panelists. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. So today I've decided on a more casual and free-flowing presentation, which is no slides. So all of you will have to enjoy my beautiful batik shirt instead of slides. So first of all, let me introduce the company, our company, myself and the company. My name is Nadir, one of the co-founders of The Lorry. The Lorry really is a digital logistics platform where we connect between customers, right, whether it be corporate or individuals, to owners of lorries, vans, and pickup trucks. So quite essentially, we are a platform. We don't own any of these vehicles, right? So we operate logistics without owning any truck or any lorry per se. We've been around for the last 8 years. So this year is our 8th year, 2022, started in 2014. Our two main businesses at the moment are what we call, number one, on-demand. On-demand is something you probably understand. So use mobile app, use website, click a few buttons, and then a truck will arrive and deliver any goods that you want, right, from point A to point B. But a growing segment of our business, which has been since COVID actually, is what we call supply chain, right? So supply chain for the e-commerce segment. So what we do is we actually deliver items, more specifically bulky items, right? Bulky items like refrigerator, washing machine, mattresses, even scooters. And the most outrageous item that I've seen in my warehouse is actually a cement mixer that we delivered to a particular customer. And this was bought online, right? It was bought online. So we focus a lot on these bulky items and we deliver it to the buyers. We're currently in 4 countries actually. So Malaysia, we started in Malaysia, and then we eventually expanded to Singapore, Thailand, as well as Indonesia. But really our core focus at the moment is Malaysia and Indonesia. And in fact, tomorrow I will actually be flying to Jakarta to do a couple of very important meetings. And hopefully that will lead to a further growth of The Lorry. We have about 150 team members so far. And since this is a conversation about financing, we have raised about 40+ million ringgit so far. right? Just about $10 million, depending on the exchange rate that you use. So most of our financing really for the last 8 years has been equity type fundraising, right? So we never really explored debt, which I'll share a bit more later why we never really explored debt until recently. But ever since we started, it's always been equity. So how do we start? You know, in the early days, the company was very simple. It was just an experiment, in fact. Chi and I, my co-founder, and we just wanted to see and test whether there's even a market for people to book lorries online, right? So 8 years ago, that would be something yang sedikit janggal sebenarnya. Ya, sebab apa yang market ataupun apa yang pengguna lebih selesa adalah untuk call pengusaha-pengusaha lori ini dan juga berinteraksi dengan mereka secara telefon dan juga secara offline lah. Tetapi it was not until we created a product, right, a very simple website to fill in essentially a form online, and we did not know whether this will be a success or not. We just launched the website, and it took off, right? There were some bookings, and from there onwards, we used that product and entered something called an Accelerator Program. Accelerator Program is essentially it's an equity type fundraising, whereby we give away some equity in exchange for a little bit of money. But more importantly, we're talking about the support, we're talking about the guidance, right? We're talking about the networking that we'll get once we're in that particular program. So the program that we went into was Watchtower and Friends, together with Cyberview. And it was from here onwards, really, we managed to meet a lot of different people. And, you know, Chi and I, we were 26 years old when we started this business. You know, we were very, very fresh, very young. We didn't know what to do. We had an understanding as to what running a business was, but we never really did it in practice. So we were first-time entrepreneurs. We just we held into one mantra, very simple mantra, which is do first, think later. Do first, think later. Don't think so much. Don't have analysis paralysis. Jalan dulu. Jalan dulu. Kemudian, you know, our experiment bore fruit, I guess, from more and more customers started to trust booking a lorry online for their house moving needs or any furniture transporter needs. It was not easy really to attract these customers, but we managed to do it. On the supply side, the driver side, also very difficult. These drivers, right, really thought that we were macam the word I'm going to use is a broker angin. Broker angin ni adalah broker yang tidak menggunakan apa-apa modal, di mana mereka menghubung sahaja di antara satu pihak ke satu pihak tanpa adding any value. Tapi jadi kita kena explain kepada driver-driver ni yang sebenarnya kita bukanlah broker angin, kita ada substance. Ya, kita buat marketing, kita buat customer service, kita mahu pengusaha-pengusaha lori di dalam Malaysia ini untuk meningkatkan lagi dia punya level of service dan juga taraf professionalism. So it was very difficult. I actually went up and down Perlis to Johor untuk recruit driver-driver lori ini, pengusaha-pengusaha lori ini. Ada yang kata setuju, ada yang kata tak setuju. So we grew regardless. And then we raised our Series A back in 2016. So this was our first real venture funding lah, per se, right? Venture funding, di mana we raised from a group called SPH Ventures and essentially Elixir Capital Management from Silicon Valley. So that was about 6 million ringgit. And the whole idea there was to further strengthen our operations in Malaysia and to start growing outside of Malaysia, to replicate our concept in places like Singapore. So we launched in Singapore, and subsequently we launched in Thailand and Indonesia, and then we managed to raise another round of Series B in 2018, which was around 6 times 4, 25 million ringgit. That was really the funds that we needed to grow our business further. And in 2019, we told ourselves that, hey, e-commerce delivery is actually something that it has huge potential. It's huge potential. It's much more scalable. So let's try to focus on that. And we were rewarded, alhamdulillah, in 2020, where everyone was in lockdown, couldn't shop. So naturally, they gravitated towards buying things online, and we benefited from that. We actually moved warehouses twice, right? More warehouses twice, from 12,000 square feet to 60,000 square feet to now our current Bukit Jelutong sorting center, which is about 150,000 square feet. So we've also partnered with different providers, 10 different other sorting center providers all over Peninsular Malaysia, and that creates the network that to deliver bulky items throughout the whole Peninsular Malaysia. And of course, we're also looking at East Malaysia at the moment, and we're going to launch in June. So yeah, so that's really our fundraising history. It's always been equity heavy, right? We never really explored that. So I'll tell you why we never really explored that. The first thing about that is, I think Matt rightly pointed out in one of the slides, which is, banks have very stringent credit checks. A very typical test that they use is what? 3 years profitability. Kita ni company kecil, belum lagi nak graduate kepada 3-year profitability itu. Jadi susahlah untuk kita pergi ke mana-mana financial institution sebenarnya. So of course, that is something that we never really looked at it until we looked at our finances and say that, hey, I think it makes sense for us to use other people's money. So for those who have read Robert Kiyosaki's book, mesti faham apa itu OPM, other people's money. Because we do have the margins, why not we try to use OPM to streamline and also to make our cash flow much more efficient. So that's why I think early this year we explored different P2P platforms, and then we found microLEAP, our first ever P2P deal. It's a Sharia-compliant one. So really, our business at the lorry, we have a little bit of a cash flow gap. What does that mean? Cash flow gap essentially means that we pay our driver partners much faster than we collect from our clients, right? So let's just say we pay our driver partners, say within 15 days, we get a cash flow or payment from our client, e-commerce platforms and whatnot, usually between 30 to 45 days. So as much as possible during that period of time, that 15 days of gap, we would like to use other people's money so that we can use our own reserve for expansionary expenses. So we're talking about, we're trying to grow to Indonesia, so we need people, we need salary, we need to pay salaries, we need marketing, we need much more facilities to further grow the business over there. So that's really the strategy, which is to optimize our cash flow by using other people's money. So right now we're using microLEAP's money essentially, or microLEAP's investors. So we dealt with microLEAP team for the last few months. They've been very cordial, very awesome, in fact. And in fact, we managed to get fully scrapped within the day itself after we launched the term note, right? The deal online. So it was not in fact within the day, maybe I think within the hour, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess there's some demand. There's some demand for our papers. So that's very encouraging, and this is something that we can look at into the long term. Yeah, so it's just a little bit. I'm actually a little bit of a enthusiast, or maybe a student of Islamic finance. I've actually translated a book on Islamic finance when I was interning with CIMB Islamic. So they said to this intern, kerja apa nak bagi dia lah? Apa kata kita ambil buku buku Islamic Finance kita minta ditranslate daripada bahasa Indonesia kepada English. So that was my first foray into really understanding and deep diving on financing terms, Islamic finance terms, and yeah. So when the contract came in from microLEAP, which is in commodity murabaha or tawarruk, I immediately understood. Very easy to understand. So yeah, I think those are some key sharing from my side on equity, on debt, and why we really opted for P2P as well as microLEAP. And happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Nadir di atas perkongsian jalan dulu baru kita fikir macam mana nak selesaikan masalah-masalah. Dan I'm very sure usahawan-usahawan yang sedang mendengar ini mempunyai berbagai, I don't like to put it as a issue ataupun put it as a situasi ataupun keadaan yang membuatkan anda perlukan extra funding dan sebagainya dalam keadaan-keadaan yang kritikal ataupun keadaan-keadaan yang terdesak dan sebagainya. Okay, if you have seen the slides daripada Matthew dari microLEAP dan juga sedikit perkongsian testimoni Nadir, pastinya ada soalan-soalan, jadi saya akan ambil daripada komen Q&A. Baiklah, kita mulakan daripada bawah ini. Saya lihat ini daripada Mas Surah Malak, dan saya fahamkan Mas Surah ni adalah ahli HIP, okay, dan dia mempunyai kedai bakery. Okay, Mas Surah from O Bakery and Cafe. Dan soalannya, how long can we get the microfinancing after we apply and how to apply? Okay, dan seterusnya kita akan tanya satu soalan ini jauh daripada Indonesia. Mr. Matthew, saya warga negara asing, bisakah investasi di P2P, Malaysia dan semisalnya, bisa perlindungan seperti apa? Begitu. Seterusnya kita akan bersama dengan apakah kriteria, ini antara soalan yang sering ditanya ya, apakah kriteria yang dinilai oleh PKS yang ingin memohon ECF dan P2P. Okay, Matt, perhaps I can pass the baton to you. The first question from Masura.
Okay, sure. I've seen actually Mastura's question as well. Nombor satu, the most important, yes, walaupun bakery ni baru 1 tahun lebih, as already mentioned dalam saya punya slide, the pisang goreng seller dekat JB pun is, minimum is 6 months operation, and they were actually 30 plus, tapi 3-year banking, as also Nadir has pointed out, so infamous banking stringent policies. But yes, you can definitely apply criteria, and the tutorial videos semua dekat website kita. So everything should be there, in English and BM. So I think that would be the easiest thing. In terms of the usual document checklist of your financial statements, etc., must be, as also mentioned by Yuni also earlier, you should be able to have that. And kalau tak ada pun, kita ada template Excel that you can download. And again, we give basic management accounting training. They'll be quite useful to use. And in worst case scenario, macam mana pun boleh call kita punya operasi punya team, pasukan, and we will help you lah. So in your application process. We also have a microLEAP WhatsApp that you can use as well to contact us.
Okay, Matt, nak tanya juga untuk ahli-ahli HRP ada keistimewaannya juga kan, Matt?
Yes, of course. For both investor dengan MSME, dua-dua pun ada benefit lah for HIP, HDC, because as mentioned with HIP, we are long-term partners with them. So this will be something, of course, be ongoing. Will always be an ongoing promotion with HIP members lah. And also for, I think, question 2 kan?
Yeah.
So memang bisa Pak?
Bisa.
Bisa. I mean, we have foreign investors as well, but yes, we have to KYC. Everything needs to go through our usual process lah. Dua-dua investor ke, pelabur atau MSME, individually you'll have to go through our KYC and risk and compliance. Everything checks out, then yes, you may start to look, especially if you're a resident in Malaysia, then there's no withholding tax that applies. Tapi kalau you are non-resident, then there is a withholding tax that will apply according to your country. So that is the only difference between a local investor and pelabur luar negara lah.
Okey, soalan yang seterusnya yang dia tanya, apakah kriteria yang diperlukan? Nanti soalan ini kebanyakannya mereka akan bertanya, apakah kriteria dan sebagainya. Nanti perhaps you can reiterate it, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I think the main thing need to look at is 6 months operation. Of course, please provide your bank statements, and if you're using your sole prop or enterprise, as mentioned earlier from the SC team as well, yes, please provide your personal bank statements if necessary. And then anything and everything where our needs to come, please answer. Jangan pula tak ambil telefon lah apa semua then complain where's my money. It's a two-way street. The reason why also it's very easy to work with the lorry is the response time between both parties are very fast. So then thankfully also, as Nadir rightly pointed out, they were funded within the day or maybe within the hour. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised. It was that fast because the drive for Islamic assets, retail investment, Islamic retail investments is there. It's obvious. So whether it's micro atau microLEAP plus, dua-dua pun the odds of you getting funded is there. You just need to make sure that you come back to my team, operations team, whenever there's any questions or back and forth lah. That's the caveat. And macam mana pun the video ada. So the tutorial will give you the full explanation with a nice soothing voice macam Kak Shilda ni, and with my operations team, Miss Izzati. So yeah, she sounds exactly like how she sounds on the phone, like how she sounds on the video. So it shouldn't be a problem lah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Because I think for us also we have been kita sudah tengok prosesnya di antaranya misalnya apa yang Matt katakan tentang seorang penjual ataupun peniaga pisang goreng ya, Matt. Dan beliau kalau tidak pisang goreng bumpah ya, Matt, dan dia beroperasi di Johor. Dan ketika itu adalah keadaan pandemik ya, di pandemik, dan sukar untuk mendapatkan pinjaman dan sebagainya, dan mereka mempunyai kesukaran untuk mendapatkan investment dan sebagainya. Dan prosesnya tidak perlu pun Matthew ataupun angkatan daripada microLEAP untuk turun padang pergi ke Johor. Semuanya diadakan secara digital, betul tak, Matt? Itu yang menariknya tentang pendigitalan investment ataupun Islamic fintech ini. Dan kita akan lihat benda-benda ini akan suburnya industri halal dengan proses-proses yang orang kata menyenangkan dan tidak menyusahkan dan membangunkan lagi usahawan-usahawan kita. Baiklah, okey, ini ada satu lagi soalan-soalan yang menarik dan mungkin soalannya agak redundant, tetapi mungkin Matt boleh jawab. The difference between these alternatives from bank financing in terms of assessment, I think Matt dah jawab tadi, time to disbursement and also any collateral required. Matt mungkin secara ringkas boleh jawab?
Yeah, sure. Let's start first with the process. If all goes well, in a timely manner, it can be as fast as the usual is between 2 to 4 weeks from start to finish, from application right up to disbursement. So because it usually doesn't take longer than once you're actually hosted on microLEAP's platform, as investment note, that's what it's called. Once you're actually hosted, the MSMEs hosted on the platform, it takes sometimes as fast as an hour or even 15 minutes or as long as a couple of weeks. So it doesn't take long. But of course, the application process, especially a first-time applicant, sure, there's a lot of KYC, a lot of checks to be done because again, we are a regulated entity. We submit our monthly reports, etc. We need to make sure that everything checks out first, and we used to do our follow-ups as well, periodic checks. But that is the most important part. But if you are raising second, third, fourth, fifth time with microLEAP, that makes it a lot easier because you build a credit history with our investor, you build a credit history with us. So it's much to fund you guys. So that is something all MSMEs please take note. I mean, it's second or third or fourth time is when it gets the time frame actually gets shorter. In terms of yes, we will be less stringent, but we're not completely off the track. No credit checks whatsoever, and I'm just going to give you financing. It doesn't work that way also, because again, I have to jaga hati the investor as well. I don't have the issuer. I have to take care of the investors' perspective and investors. Be mindful of the investors' interest as well. So I have to make sure that the company is at least be able to maybe bounce back. Sometimes what we do is kita KIV. We can see that there's a bit of a U-turn in the company. Maybe at this point in time you're not able to receive your financing, but come back to us maybe in a few months and you will get your financing. We have quite a number of those cases already on microLEAP. So, and again, satu Malaysia pun ada, from Perlis, Johor, Kelantan, right up to Sabah, Sarawak. So, that is the main advantage of being online and and having this back and forth, What else was there, Shilda?
The collateral. Ada tak collateral that you have to present or documents or something like that?
Sure. Great question. Okay, so collateral-wise, only for Islamic car dealer financing, the car is the collateral. Otherwise, there is no collateral, but a guarantor is needed. So even the Makcik Kia also that we mentioned, she was her own guarantor, and she also provided another guarantor to back her up, and actually both passed. And usually why there's also a secondary guarantor needed is because maybe the first one, after doing our credit assessment, was not strong enough. We will need a secondary guarantor. So that, that is how we work. Even lorry, money match, the bigger companies also pun macam tu. So it doesn't matter whether you're microLEAP or microLEAP plus, macam mana pun that is the bare minimum lah. There has to be at least a guarantor for the financing, penjamin.
Okay, Matt, saya tidak memiliki soalan daripada kotak komen tu, tetapi saya memiliki soalan daripada HIP members juga. Ada satu soalan, orang kata soalan saki-baki ni. Bolehkah saya apply pembiayaan microLEAP sekiranya saya tidak mendapat CJ halal untuk restoran F&B? I mean, yalah, because they are the halal entrepreneurs, they are looking into getting the certificate halal dan menggunakan dana itu untuk mendapatkan CJ halal.
So that's a great question. Soalan terbaik. The main thing what we do whenever we are faced with a situation like this, we have to first things first go to our Sharia advisory because again there is the Sharia Advisory Council of SC. Underneath that is Sheikh Masraf, who's our Sharia advisors. We will have to go to them, seek the advisement first. Actually, 99% of the time we already have in our FAQ juga apa yang Sharia compliant and what is not. But of course in English and VM. But of course the thing is, if it doesn't fall within that, and if there's any grey area macam ni yang belum dapat you punya cert, halal cert, etc., we will have to seek the advisement first. Kalau dia cakap okay. Kalau dia cakap tak okay, then it's a no. Yeah. You can probably raise under conventional, but not under Sharia compliant.
Okay. Alright, terima kasih. Mungkin saya akan lihat di kotak komen, mungkin ada yang lain-lain. Kita sudah mencapai 11.27 ketika ini dan mungkin ada tak soalan-soalan yang kemungkinan ada yang ini bertanya tentang kejayaan Dolores yang telah mengambil atau guna pakai pembiayaan P2P bersama dengan microLEAP. Kalau tiada, mungkin kita boleh pass the agenda to the Secretariat. Let's just wait for a while. Okey, bagi mereka yang berminat untuk mendapatkan pembiayaan microLEAP, saya mensyorkan bagi mewakili Halal Integrated Platform untuk menjadi ahli HIP. Kerana di HIP juga merupakan satu lagi level di mana kami akan mengumpul halalpreneurs ataupun entrepreneurs micro SMEs, di mana kami akan meletakkan kriteria ataupun details syarikat-syarikat anda, produk dan sebagainya. Daripada situ kami akan mengesyorkan HIP akan recommend entrepreneurs ini ataupun syarikat-syarikat ini kepada microLEAP dan ia mempunyai package-package eksklusif dan juga istimewa. Dan bukan itu saja, kita juga mempunyai di sebalik issuer, kita balance pula dengan dia punya investor, betul? Matthew, perhaps sikit lagi, kita ada lebih kurang seminit dua, mungkin Matthew boleh ceritakan tentang investor pula. Bagaimana kita boleh invest di dalam syarikat-syarikat ini?
Yeah, as mentioned just now, and also a good thing is that he has touched on that earlier in our presentation. There is a growing demand for Islamic assets. So Sharia-compliant investments. This is the best way. I mean, by investing in these MSMEs, you're making an impact, especially for the micro and PMKS MSMEs. You will also getting a return. Anywhere between 10 to 15%. That's better than almost everything that's out there in the market. And dia bayar balik setiap bulan. As also mentioned, the difference between us and ECF, our returns are monthly. And everything goes through account amanah, the trustees. So as also for HIP members, you'll have other extra rewards on top of that, of everything else. But the returns are it's not just about returns, it's also about making an impact. We are actually helping the grassroots MSMEs. So that's where that wherever you're actually parking your money, it's actually going to good use, So that's, I mean, it shouldn't also always be about the return, but any investor in anywhere in the world, that's what they want. But the good thing is at least you know that you're actually making an effort and making an impact. Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Will you be able, kita sudah memasuki 11.29. Mungkin last one, satu question. Bolehkah kita mendapatkan pembiayaan untuk membeli mesin?
Yes, of course. Boleh. As long as it's business-related financing and working capital needs, yes. Buying iPhone, support birthday or wedding, unfortunately, no. So that's basically straightforward. Personal financing, no. Any related financing, yes.
Okey. Alright, bagi mereka yang ingin mengetahui lebih lanjut tentang microLEAP, anda perlu melalui Halal Integrated Platform di mana anda menjadi ahli, simple saja, free di laman web kami iaitu hip.hdcglobal.com dan anda bolehlah melayari kami di segala social media yang ada, Halal Integrated Platform ataupun di Halal Development Corporation. Baiklah, itu saja daripada kami untuk sesi HDC ini dan saya akan serahkan kembali ke Nadira dan terima kasih kepada Securities Commission. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Shida, and to our guest speakers for the very enlightening session. On behalf of the SC, I would like to thank the speakers for the valuable inputs that you have shared with the audience, and it has been a great pleasure to have you with us today. Now, I would like to invite the audience to answer the last polling question that we have today. Can we have it on screen, please? So the question is, do you have plans to seek ECF or P2P financing within the next 12 months? Atau adakah anda bercadang untuk mendapatkan pembiayaan melalui ECF dan P2P financing dalam tempoh 12 bulan akan datang? So let's give some time for the audience to vote. Right, we'll close the poll question now. So based on the answers that we've received, about 44% of the audience said yes, there are plans to seek ECF or P2P financing within the next 12 months, which is very encouraging to see. We look forward to seeing more halal businesses tapping into the capital market in the future. So, but before we end today's session, I'd also like to share with you on an upcoming program by the Training and Development arm of the SC, the Securities Industry Development Corporation, or SIDC. Let me just share my screen. Good, give me a second. All right. So, for participants who want to find out more about ECF and P2P as a funding option for your business, SIDC has developed a program entitled Equity, Crowdfunding and Peer-to-Peer Financing from A to Z, where the program will deep dive into the how-tos of ECF and P2P, from considering the most suitable funding route, the preparation of the proposal submission, up to the launch of a funding campaign and beyond. This program will be scheduled in August 22 onwards, so do register your interest. And for further details and queries, participants may reach out to the SIDC's contact person as shown on the screen now. All right, so before you leave, we would appreciate if you could take some time to answer the feedback form for today's webinar as well. The feedback form will pop up on your screen once you click on the leave button on your Zoom platform. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end of our webinar for today. With that, on behalf of the SC, we would like to thank the speakers and participants for joining us today. And it has been an honor to have you at today's Navigate Capital Market Green Financing series. We hope you have enjoyed and learned from today's webinar session. Till next time, stay safe and take care. Thank you.